Hello team, how's it going? Welcome to a new video where we are discussing the new training system for the British Army. This is the Soldier Academy. I did a video on it a couple of days ago and they have changed the way they are now training recruits, and it's no longer phase 1 training, it's the Soldier Academy. And I don't really 100% know what they've actually changed because I haven't got the ins and outs. But I wanted to talk about how I think they could have made it better with just one big sort of change. The way they want to do it now is they want to do it more of a sort of crawl, walk, run philosophy. So put them under less pressure at the beginning, allow them to adapt and unlock their full potential. When I was an instructor back in 2015, it was already sort of slow enough as it is. You know, when they rocked up, they weren't allowed to do any drill at all. You couldn't teach them any sort of marching before they did a medical. That could be a few days. When they got issued their clothing, they weren't allowed to carry their bags because they were too heavy to the block. Even though the block was about 50 meters away, they had to get put in the back of a van, drove round, and then they took their bags off and they were allowed to carry them up to their rooms. It was also becoming a little bit softer. No sort of screaming, shouting, swearing. Okay, you don't need to constantly shout at someone to unlock their potential. But this whole sort of making it more gradual, I don't fully understand, because I think it was 12 weeks back when I was an instructor, and it was already tough enough to cram everything in. I also know after week 5, they get every weekend off, so they're not working as many weekends. For them, which is brilliant. You know, if you're a recruit and you get every weekend off, of course you're going to be happy with that. But like I said, it was already tough enough to fit the training in. One great thing they have done though is they've brought in pre-employment training for the instructors. So the instructors go through pre-employment training to do all the courses and the training they need to do to become an instructor. So that means everyone's qualified up to the same standard, which before you sort of got selected from your unit. Hopefully it was like top 10%, top 1% went and become an instructor. And then you went and did what courses. Sort of everyone had to do skill at arms, and you sort of had to do a couple of other things if you wanted to. I did BCDT, you could do CBRN, but hopefully now the pre-employment training teaches them all of it, so everyone is capable of doing all of them. And then while I was there, I did drill as well, so all the instructors at the same standard. But all they've done with this is made it a common 13-week schedule, which I don't fully understand, because if it's more gradual at the beginning, they get every weekend off, but it's only 13 weeks long, and you still want them to come out at the same standards, so they lose numbers. As we know, this is a retention issue. As before, you couldn't get rid of anyone as it was. No matter how bad they were, the CEO would turn around and be like, he's staying, make sure he passes. Because if you're struggling to get him in, you really don't want to lose him in training. So why not just make the course longer? Like a lot longer. Why not make it to something like 20 weeks? I don't think time's really too much of an issue. I don't know why you can't put them in training for 20 weeks. You know, as they say, everyone's a soldier first before their trade. Yes, you go off and be a tradie. You might go and do signals. You might go off and do artillery, medic, nurse, whatever it is. But ultimately, you do need to know how to soldier. As we saw in Afghan, medics were getting in the thick of it. Artillery guys were getting in the thick of it. We had an RMP stationed with us in our CP and PB. You get signal guys stationed with you. And if the shit really hits the fan, they need to get stuck in. You want to know that they are capable. So everyone is a soldier first. So why not make sure that when they come out, they know the ins and outs? Because when I left Pirbright, recruits literally spent a week on section attacks on their final exercise and just about scraped through. They didn't really fully understand how a section attack worked. Didn't have a clue about a platoon and not a clue about company attacks. I know they're not going into infantry, but they should know the basics and the fundamentals. And it was hard enough to cram everything in then. So unless they've got rid of a lot, I'm quite unsure on what they've done here. I think if you're going to redevelop it as it is, why not just completely redevelop it, make it a lot longer, and give them the time they need? Because that takes away the pressure, even though I don't know why you want to take a pressure away from a soldier. It's one of the best attributes and skills that a soldier leaves the army with. is being able to deal with high pressure situations, being able to handle stress, which is what we should be putting them under, because when you go on ops, even exercises, you're in stressful situations, and it can get really, really stressful, and you need to be able to calm yourself down and deal with that and deal with the situation and be adaptable. So yeah, my point is why not just make it longer? I think the pre-employment training for the instructors is brilliant. iPads is what it is. We're moving into a technological world. The diaries, they had them when I was there. They just seem a little bit more in depth now. I think understanding people's sleep and fatigue is great for a tactical athlete. But how much do you need to delve into it emotionally? We want these to be war fighters. You know, you join the army to basically shoot things, blow things up. No matter what trade you want to go into, like that is what the army does. You know, the infantry do their job and everyone supports them around that pretty much, especially if, you know, a war does kick off, and that's fundamentally what we're there to do. We don't want you to be soft. We want you to be tough, hard, and be able to do the job and be able to get stuck in and do the things that most people aren't willing to do. So why not sort of keep the pressure there and just make the course longer? Yeah, it will cost a little bit more because you're keeping them in training, but once they leave training, you're paying them anyway, so the wages isn't an issue. Okay, you've got to pay for the training, but why not invest the money, make everyone a decent soldier, discipline, integrity, courage, and then just all over the basic skills and drills. This whole soldier academy, you know, they're saying we talk about a sort of crawl, walk, run philosophy to make sure that we're not losing too many recruits at the beginning of the process. Straight again, recruitment issue. If you're not getting the numbers in, you really don't want to lose them in training. So that's what they're trying to save there. In addition to creating the new common military syllabus, we've created a pre-employment training package for instructors. Brilliant. Technology has become a huge part. We know, you know, recruits are now issued iPads that provide individual feedback thanks to a new app called My Training. Daily and weekly, they can record a reflective diary, how they're feeling, how much sleep they're having, how fatigued they are. That's a personal one-to-one thing just between the corporal and the recruit, which they can help them with. It's not quite like Bad Lads Army anymore. It's very different. It's very much the same standard. It's very much just the approach in which we unlock the recruit's potential. We know it's not the same standard. That's the thing that's changed, using technology, being more empathetic, but by no means they've become soft. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think they've become too soft? I do understand you do need empathy. You don't really need sympathy. We've all been in the situation. We've all been there in training. We've all been on exercise. We can emphasize with them. We can give them empathy, but you can't sympathize with them. You know, there's no need to give them sympathy. It is shit sometimes. You just got to deal with it. It's the nature of the job. And I feel like instead of them doing that, they're like, it is shit. How can we make it easier for him? Because we don't want to lose numbers. Make it more. I don't get how they're making it more gradual in only a space of 13 weeks. You think 13 weeks is long. It's really not when it comes to training. So why not make it 20 weeks? Start off gradual at the beginning, make it a little bit softer for them, and then just up the tempos. So by the end of it, they really are put under high pressure situations. They really have put through it on the section attacks. They really do know how to do CBRN, BCDT. You know, don't want it. You want them to be able to go in a situation. My mucker's lost his leg. Right? How do I deal with this? That's a very high pressure situation. Right, so why are we taking that pressure away from them? So that's how I think we should change training. Remember, we are a soldier first. No matter what trade you go into, you're a soldier first, and you need to know the basics of soldiering. And I think making the course longer is most probably the best thing they can do. I think they should make this soldier academy around 20 weeks. What's your thoughts on that? I'd be very interested to know what you think. What could we do to make training better? We got to stop, lowering the standards, keep the standards high, and find a way of doing that and keeping the numbers. So, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. That's my number one sort of advice, or my number one thing I would change with training now is make the course longer and keep that sort of pressure on them. I think being able to handle pressure is one of the most important things as a soldier. So, yeah, let us know what your thoughts are.